Friends, perhaps you felt it too, that gnawing sense that the world is fracturing around us. Turn on the news, and you're bombarded with crisis after crisis. Open social media, and you're swept into waves of outrage, fear, and division. Walk through your daily life, and you encounter uncertainty at every corner. Economic instability, relationship turmoil, health anxieties, the relentless pace of change that leaves us feeling perpetually behind. We live in an age where the ground beneath our feet seems to shift constantly. What felt secure yesterday becomes questionable today. The institutions we trusted, the beliefs we held, the futures we planned, all seem subject to sudden upheaval. Many of us find ourselves in a state of chronic anxiety, constantly bracing for the next shock, the next disappointment, the next reason to feel that life is spiraling beyond our control. In this chaos, we search desperately for something solid to hold on to. We seek security in our bank accounts, in our relationships, in our health, in our achievements. Yet each of these, we discover, can be shaken or taken away without warning. So we're left with a fundamental question that haunts the human condition. In a world that seems inherently unstable, where can we find true, unshakable strength? This question isn't new. Everyone, 20 centuries ago, philosophers faced their own shattered world, the collapse of empires, the brutality of slavery, the uncertainty of war, the inevitability of loss. Yet from these harsh realities emerged one of the most practical and powerful approaches to mental resilience ever developed: the philosophy of Stoicism. These ancient thinkers discovered something remarkable: that unshakable strength doesn't come from controlling the world around us, but from building an inner fortress that no external circumstance can breach. The Stoics built their philosophy on a revolutionary insight about the nature of human suffering and strength. Epictetus, himself a former slave who understood powerlessness intimately, taught us the most fundamental principle of mental resilience. Some things are within our power, while others are not. This isn't merely a philosophical observation. It's the cornerstone of psychological freedom. What did Epictetus mean? He recognized that we waste enormous energy trying to control things that are fundamentally beyond our influence. Other people's actions, natural disasters, economic conditions, the past, the future, even our own bodies as they age and change. When we anchor our peace of mind to these uncontrollable elements, we guarantee our own suffering. But here's the liberating truth. There exists a realm over which we have complete sovereignty, and it's the only realm that ultimately matters for our well-being. We have absolute control over our judgments, our values, our responses, and our choices about how to interpret and engage with whatever life presents us. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his meditations while managing the pressures of ruling an empire, captured this perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The Emperor of Rome, surrounded by political intrigue and military threats, found his true power not in his legions or his wealth, but in his capacity to maintain clarity and purpose regardless of external chaos. The Stoics spoke of the inner citadel, that impregnable fortress of the mind that remains intact no matter what storms rage outside. But how do we construct such a fortress? What are its walls made of, and how do we strengthen them against the inevitable attacks of circumstance? The first wall is the discipline of perception. Every event that occurs in our lives is, in itself, neutral. It becomes positive or negative only through the interpretation we assign to it. When we lose a job, we can see it as devastating failure or as an opportunity for new direction. When we face criticism, we can receive it as an attack on our worth or as valuable feedback for growth. When we encounter setbacks, We can interpret them as evidence that life is against us, or as training that builds our resilience. Seneca, in his letters to Lucilius, reminds us, "Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks the truth turns inward." In other words, instead of being constantly reactive to external events, we can develop the habit of pausing, reflecting, and choosing our response consciously rather than impulsively. The second wall is the practice of voluntary hardship. The Stoics understood something that our comfort-obsessed culture has forgotten. Strength is built through challenge, not through avoidance. They regularly practiced what they called poverty rehearsals, deliberately experiencing discomfort to prove to themselves that they could not only survive difficulty, but maintain their equanimity within it. This isn't masochism, it's wisdom. When we voluntarily face small challenges, taking cold showers, fasting occasionally, sleeping on the floor, walking instead of driving, we build confidence in our ability to handle larger challenges when they inevitably arrive. We discover that our happiness doesn't depend on comfort, and this discovery is profoundly liberating. The third wall is the cultivation of virtue as our highest value. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. Unlike external goods, money, reputation, health, relationships, virtue cannot be taken from us by circumstances. It grows stronger through practice and remains ours regardless of what fortune brings or takes away. When we anchor our identity and self-worth in virtue rather than in outcomes, we become truly unshakable. The person committed to acting with integrity doesn't lose their value when others act dishonorably. The person dedicated to courage doesn't become weak when others show cowardice. The person pursuing wisdom doesn't become ignorant when surrounded by foolishness. So how do we translate these philosophical principles into practical strength that serves us in our daily battles with chaos and uncertainty? First, practice the evening reflection. Each night, Marcus Aurelius would review his day, examining his responses to various situations. Follow his example. Before sleep, ask yourself 3 questions. What did I handle well today? What could I have responded to more wisely? What did I learn about my own character? This practice builds self-awareness and continuous improvement in your responses to life's challenges. Second, engage in morning preparation. Begin each day by mentally rehearsing potential difficulties you might face and how you want to respond to them. Epictetus taught his students to wake each morning saying, "Today I will meet interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." This wasn't pessimism. It was preparation. When we anticipate challenges, we're less likely to be thrown off balance when they occur. Third, practice the discipline of desire through gratitude and acceptance. When you find yourself frustrated with circumstances, pause and ask, what is this situation trying to teach me? How can I use this challenge to become stronger, wiser, or more compassionate? This transforms every difficulty from an enemy into a teacher. Fourth, implement the view from above. When overwhelmed by immediate problems, imagine viewing your situation from a great height, seeing yourself from the perspective of someone looking down from a mountain, or even from space. Marcus Aurelius regularly practiced this exercise, reminding himself of the brevity and ultimate insignificance of temporary troubles in the vast scope of time and existence. Here's what many people misunderstand about Stoic strength. It doesn't make us cold, emotionless, or disconnected from life. Instead, it makes us more deeply engaged, more genuinely compassionate, and more capable of authentic love. When we're not constantly anxious about things beyond our control, we have more energy available for what we can actually influence. The person with an unshakable mindset isn't unmoved by suffering, their own or others, but they're not paralyzed by it either. They can face tragedy with clear eyes and steady hands, offering real help rather than mere emotional reactivity. They can love deeply without being possessive, pursue goals without being attached to outcomes, and engage with the world without being dependent on its approval. Seneca expressed this beautifully. The mind that is anxious about future misfortunes is miserable. Present troubles seem great because we think about them a great deal. But if we call to mind other troubles and realize how trivial our present ones are, we can bear them more easily. When we develop genuine inner resilience, something remarkable happens. We become a source of stability for others in an unstable world. People are drawn to those who remain calm in storms, who offer wisdom instead of worry, who respond to chaos with clarity rather than contributing to it. This isn't about superiority or detachment. It's about service. The person with an unshakable mindset becomes a lighthouse in the fog, offering guidance not through preaching, but through example. They demonstrate that it's possible to maintain peace and purpose, even when the world seems to be falling apart. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In our context, we might say, the best response to a chaotic world is to embody the calm, rational, compassionate presence that the world desperately needs. The highest level of Stoic strength is found in Amor, Fati, the love of fate. This doesn't mean passive resignation to whatever happens, but rather an active embrace of reality as it is, finding meaning and even beauty in every circumstance life presents. When we truly understand that every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue, every setback is a chance to build resilience, every loss is an invitation to discover what cannot be lost, then we stop fighting against life and start dancing with it. This is the ultimate unshakable mindset. Not the brittleness of rigid resistance, but the flexibility of bamboo that bends with the storm, yet never breaks. True strength, fellow seekers of wisdom, isn't found in controlling a chaotic world. It's discovered in building an inner sanctuary that remains peaceful, regardless of external storms. It's the recognition that while we cannot command the winds, we can adjust our sails. While we cannot prevent all difficulties, we can choose to meet them with courage, wisdom, and grace. The unshakable mindset isn't built overnight, but through daily practice, consistent reflection, and the gradual understanding that our true power lies not in getting what we want from the world, but in maintaining our values and our peace, no matter what the world brings us. So I ask you, what area of your life would benefit most from this kind of inner strength? Where are you currently allowing external circumstances to shake your foundation? Are you ready to begin building your own inner citadel, one conscious choice at a time? May the light of wisdom illuminate your inner citadel. Until next time.